Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More. Standing outside a flip that we bought a few months ago and the tenants just moved out of, just meeting with my contractor here to look at some different things. But I wanted to talk about this house again because I was offered a quick sale for $200,000. We bought it for $170,000, or I could rehab it and probably sell it for $280,000. So I want to make this video talk about the pros and cons of each route, what I'm going to do, and show you just a few things in the house as well. So we have the full before video on YouTube, on our playlist for fix and flips if you want to see that. I'm not going to go through the entire house, but something really cool that we just found out. This is a little swamp cooler that just cools the living room, and you can see they cut out the brick, and we just discovered bricks all through the ground. And I don't know if it's from them cutting them out or just extra bricks they had, but there's enough bricks to patch the house, so that's a huge bonus. But when thinking about whether to sell this house fast or repair it, there's a lot of things to consider. One thing is the size of the rehab. This one is pretty cut and dry. We're doing kitchen, flooring, paint, bathrooms, maybe a little bit of electrical, but it's not a crazy old house with foundation issues. We're not tearing out walls. It's a pretty cut and dry rehab, so I'm not too worried about finding anything crazy or, going over budget by 100%. We're figuring it'll take about $30,000 to do this. Already has new windows, which is nice. And that's one thing I consider. If it's an easier rehab, we do these all the time. We've actually done 4 or 5 houses like this, very similar, in the last 2 years. And so it's not a big deal for us to do this rehab. It's also not gonna hurt me buying any new properties by keeping my money tied up in this house. We have financing in place. We have money to buy more properties if we need to. It's actually harder for us to find new properties right now than it is for us to pay for them and finance them, which is a nice problem to have. So it's not like I'm sacrificing buying new properties by keeping this one and not, instead of selling it quick, keeping it. I'm not sacrificing new opportunities. So that's something else to consider. So if you're a new investor, you don't have, any money at all. I can't go downstairs since I'm still talking. Maybe that's something to consider. Can you buy more deals if you were to sell it fast, or would you be stuck in this house? But the big consideration for me too is if I sell it for $200,000, and I'll kind of go over the numbers in more detail here soon, I will make maybe $25,000. Because we already used some financing costs, have some other costs. But if I spend 30 grand to fix it up, we'll have more selling costs because the investor who wants to buy it from me won't have an agent. And we'll have, more carrying costs, we'll hold it longer, more financing costs, but we can probably sell it for $280,000. And that's, pretty conservative. We just sold one real close to this for $285,000. I actually had a $289,000 offer, but the appraisal came in low. So considering all the extra costs, all the financing costs and everything, I would be making at least $30,000 more to rehab it than if I sold it fast. And that's a whole nother flip. I mean, our average profit on flips is about $30,000 to $35,000. So that is like me finding, buying, rehabbing a whole new property when I already have this house here that I own that's ready to go. So that's one of the biggest factors is $30,000 doubles my money basically in a few months. And it might even be more than that. And something else I thought of too is, hey, if this house was for sale for $200,000 on the market right now, I would buy it in a heartbeat because it would be a great flip. And that's obviously why that investor wants to buy it as well. So I hear all these, sayings, a fast nickel is better than a slow dime, a bird in hand is better than 2 in the bush. And I think I can understand why people say that, but at the same time, My goal as a real estate investor is to invest money, make it grow, and get more money. And this is one of the fastest and best ways I can make that money grow, is to invest that $30,000 into the rehab and get back another $30,000, $40,000 extra in profit. So I am happy to take a slow dime instead of a fast nickel. That's the point of my business. So we'll go over the numbers in more detail right now. Here I'm looking at the numbers for exactly what I would make if we sold the house now for $200,000 versus if we sold the house later for $280,000. So I'll kind of show you what each one works out to and why I'm making the decision I'm making. So like I said, it's an offer for $200,000 from an investor. Actually, know him well. Be no real estate agents involved, no inspection, quick closing. I bought the house for $170,000 back in July, and since that time, it's been rented. So we have been collecting rent that entire time, and I have had a loan on the house the entire time. And I think I mentioned on our Instagram page and Facebook that I had a bank loan, but I was completely wrong. I actually forgot what type of loan I had on this house, but I looked that up. It was a private money loan. This is an investor who loans to me at 9% interest, but he will actually loan the purchase price plus the repairs all up front. So my loan on this house is actually $210,000 right now because we assumed we'd have $40,000 in work on it when I bought it, and it's actually a little nicer now than I assumed it would be after the tenants moved out. We're thinking the repairs will be less than that, but I have it financed for $210,000 at 9%. So over 5 months, we've collected $6,500 in rent and paid about $7,875 in interest on the loan. And along with that, I also paid 2 points up front, so that was $4,200. We've had some carrying costs for taxes, insurance, but the tenants have been paying all the utilities, mowing the lawn, doing all of that. And if I sold it, I would have some closing costs, some title insurance, closing fees, things like that. So total costs up to this point are around $73,75. And so if I sold it for $200,000, I would basically make $22,625. And I bought this house from a private seller, direct marketing, so I didn't make a commission when I bought this one. It was just a straight purchase price. All right. Now, if I were to sell the house later for $280,000, these are what the costs would be. So I included the costs up to now from above. So what I'd have into it there, we'd have about $6,300 more in loan costs. That's assuming I hold the house for 4 more months. I don't think it'll take that long, but it could, so I want to be conservative. Carrying costs, taxes, insurance, some utilities while we have the property. Real estate commissions when I sell it, I'm assuming the buyer will be represented by a real estate agent. I don't have to pay an agent when I sell it because I've got my own company. We can list them for free. Then we'll have the closing costs. And I'm thinking about $30,000 in repairs for the roof, painting, flooring, kitchen, some of the other stuff. So these total costs add up to $54,775. And if you subtract that from the $280,000 that we'd sell it for, we'd have a profit of just over $55,000. So we're looking at 3 to 4 more months of holding the property. I have basically no cash into the property. In fact, negative cash. I got money back when I bought it because of the type of loan I did. If I sold it now, I'd have $22,000 profit, but I'd actually have to pay some money at closing because my loan is more than what I would be selling it for. My loan's $210,000 and I'd be selling it for $200,000. So it really doesn't matter as far as getting a new deal or having cash available if I sell it now or sell it later because of the type of loan I have on it. If I sold it later, I would be making more than twice as much money, another $33,000 in profit. It would take a little longer, but we have contractors, we have crews available to work on it, and it really wouldn't take more effort or time from me because I have it set up where Nikki's my project manager, we have crews, we have people doing all that work. It's just a matter of the risk of rehabbing it. And with this property, there isn't a whole lot that could come up that's a surprise, knock on wood. I'm assuming. We think there might be, maybe some electrical work, things like that. But it's a new enough house where you're not worried about the foundation, not worried about, walls crumbling down or plaster or anything like that. So to me, the decision is a no-brainer to rehab the house, spend the $30,000, plus in repairs and loan costs to make that extra $33,000. I mean, you're basically getting 100% return on your money for making the repairs, holding the house a few months more. This is as good as a brand new flip where you're finding the deal, buying it, repairing it, and we already have the house, we just have to repair it. So it makes no sense to me to give up $33,000 just because I could make a quick profit and sell it fast, especially with the type of loan I have. Now, if I had a different type of loan where I had more money tied up in the property or I paid cash for it, maybe it makes sense to sell it quick so you can keep that money moving and buy a new deal. But again, if I buy a new deal, I might not make much more on that entire deal than I'm going to make by making the repairs on this property. So it just, no matter what the situation to me, unless you are in dire need of cash, you have a ton of cash tied up in your property, and you won't survive without getting that cash out, it makes sense to rehab this one, especially when I have the crew, the contractors ready to go. If you don't know any contractors, you don't know how to rehab a house, you don't have the money to rehab a house, maybe it makes sense to sell it. But for me, in my situation, we're going to keep it, we're going to rehab it, and we're going to sell the property for the higher price and make much more money on it in the long run. So that's my thinking behind this property, why we're keeping it, why we're not selling it, why I don't think a quick nickel is better than a slow dime. I like slow dimes. They're worth much more than nickels. And that's all I've got. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you appreciate it. If you have comments or questions, please leave it below. Have any insight, we'd love to hear it. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and we'll have much more coming up soon. Thanks a lot.